Hi, I'm Dr. Bhargav Raut from Pathofast Lab, Pune, and I'm a pathologist with more than 10 years of experience reporting different types of tests, including the Widal test. Today, I'm going to explain to you how to read the normal range of the typhoid test. The typhoid test, which is also called the Widal test in most places, is a little confusing for a lot of doctors, students, and even patients to understand what these big long charts actually mean. So, I'm going to take this one step at a time. The first thing you need to understand is that when we do a Widal test, we progressively dilute your sample. So you can imagine this. Imagine that you have 1 tablespoon of sugar and we go on adding water to it. When I add the first glass of water, I'm going to be able to taste the sugar in the water. But as I add more and more water to that sugar, the ability or my ability to sense and taste that sugar will go on dropping. And maybe by the 5th or 6th glass of water added into that, I may not even be able to taste the sugar anymore. So the same thing is done when we do a Widal test. We take your sample and we just go on diluting it with more and more saline, so that by the end we've diluted it nearly 1,000-fold, and anything that was present in the original sample will now almost be undetectable. So how does this help? Basically, if antibodies against typhoid are present in your blood in sufficiently high quantities, we will be able to detect them even at a very high level of dilution of your sample. And that's what we use as the cutoffs to say whether you are positive or negative for typhoid. So let's take these antibodies step by step. The first one that we test for is the anti-H antibody. And we say that if your sample has been diluted 40 times, so you can see the first two columns, 1 by 20, that means your sample was diluted 20 times. 1 by 40, it means your sample was diluted almost 40 times. But if we can detect the antibodies at 1 divided by 80, that means if we've diluted your sample 80 times and we can detect the antibodies in that solution, we say that it is positive for the H antibodies and that you are positive for typhoid. So this is the cutoff that has been determined by checking what is the background level of antibodies in the population in India. I've set these cutoffs based on a study which was done in Mumbai, which is specific to the state that we are in. So anything more than 1 divided by 80. So let's say that we find the titer. The first time we find it positive, it is at 1:80. We find it positive. It may then be positive even at 1:160, but maybe by 1:320 we don't find it positive anymore, because by then it has been diluted a lot. So the cutoff to decide is 1 by 80. As long as 1 by 80 is positive, we call it positive. You can see I've mentioned it for the remaining 3. So it's different for the H antibodies, it's the same for the AH, and it's a little different for the BH. For the H and the BH, we consider 1 divided by 160 as the cutoff. So anything less than that, if it is positive, that means, let's say for the H antigen, you can see that even if it is positive in the 1 divided by 80, we will not call you as positive for typhoid. We want to see those antibodies in a sample that has been diluted 160 times to say that yes, definitely this level is more than a certain cutoff. So this is how you interpret the normal ranges of the Widal test or the typhoid test. And this has value because if we repeat your Widal test after 2 to 3 weeks and we find that the titers are even higher, we can be sure that you actually had a typhoid infection. Thank you. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below and I'll be sure to answer it for you.